Hello and welcome to this Lesson Lab module titled Gradual Release and Timekeeping that was designed and produced by GoTeach11. Your journey starts here. In this module, you'll be able to explain the gradual release of responsibility instructional model, know why and how to keep learning on track with the timer, and ultimately create a learning experience that shifts responsibilities from teacher-led to student-centered work. You'll demonstrate your learning in an extended mini lesson. You'll have 15 to 20 minutes to meet all the success criteria for this lesson lab. To earn credit for this module, your mini lesson must transfer responsibility of learning from I do to we do to you do. You must also explicitly use a timer sometime during the mini lesson. We'll read just a bit from Teach Like a Champion 2.0, as well as a short article from ASCD. You can access the article in your Canvas resources when the time comes. Now that we have our focus, know how we'll apply the learning, and the materials we'll need, let's get started. Do you remember what it was like learning how to swim? I recall feelings of nervousness, excitement, and struggle as I clung on to the person who was helping me learn. It took several experiences in the pool with lots of feedback and different exercises, but eventually I did it. Now, what would the experience have been like if I had simply been thrown into a body of water without any sort of flotation device and was left on my own? Well, you probably wouldn't be watching this awesome video today. Learning to swim is a process that takes time, encouragement, and the right sort of support. You could argue that these baby steps to gaining skills apply directly to teaching. Today, we'll learn a process for providing support to students before we let them apply the learning on their own. This process is a familiar one in education. It's called gradual release, and it's also referred to as I do, we do, you do. Gradual release is an instructional technique in which the responsibility for knowing and doing gradually transfers from the teacher to the students. ASCD is an educational publisher, and they provide a succinct overview of the technique in an article written by Nancy Fisher and Douglas Frey. These individuals have published several books about the topic. Access this gradual release article in your Canvas resources and read about the technique. Gradual release begins with I do, meaning it begins with the teacher leading the learning and the students following along. During I do, the teacher models what he or she wants the students to eventually do on their own. When we say model, we don't mean showing off your teacher outfit in between rows of student desks. Modeling in the classroom is explaining how something should be done. For example, you can model your thinking as you read a short passage and explain why you're highlighting specific information. In music, you model what the song should sound like before asking students to practice one specific part. I do allows students to hear and see an expert performing the task before they're asked to practice the learning on their own. Following I do, the teacher releases more responsibility to the students. We do means the teacher and the students work together to practice the learning. During we do, the teacher guides the learning while directly involving students in the process. The teacher provides a text or a problem, then facilitates the application of the learning with questions, offering feedback, checking students' understanding, and verifying that students are able to continue before they move to working more independently. An example of we do is posing a math problem on the board and involving different students through the process of solving it. Another form of we do doesn't necessarily involve the teacher as much. It's called y'all do, meaning that students work in pairs or small groups to practice their learning. This gives students another opportunity to utilize their different strengths and have the support of their peers before they work on their own. When students work together, the teacher moves around the classroom and listens in on the conversations, checking for understanding and deciding what additional clarifications needed before moving to independent practice. The final component of gradual release model is you do. This means after all the support, you as the student work independently on practicing the learning. We hope that after modeling, guided practice, and working with the partner provides enough support for the student to be successful on their own. Here we have an example of gradual release in action within the context of a math class. Note how gradual release can occur within one class period. It begins with I do, where the teacher models the learning. The first step to adding fractions with unlike denominators is to make the denominators equal. The teacher explains the process, then moves to we do, where he or she asks guiding questions to involve the students and check their understanding of the process. Okay, now let's try it together. How did we say we were going to make the denominators equal? Martin? Nice. Okay, what do I need to do next? Camilla. After guided practice, the teacher has students practice with partners, and y'all do. Now that we've solved this example, work in pairs to take turns solving these 4 problems. One student will write, and the other student will explain how to solve and what to write. Then switch for the next problem. Kayla, what are we doing again? You got it. Ready, go. Following we do, the teacher transitions to you do and says, great, we're starting to get this. There are 5 more on your page. Take 6 minutes and see how many you could solve accurately on your own. Ready, go. Gradual release is one way to structure learning that ensures students have ample practice and support before they try something on their own. Ideally, the gradual release process happens every day. We move from the I do to we do to you do, but note that sometimes this needs to happen out of order or the process takes several days to complete. When the end product is something like applying learning to writing an essay or creating an artwork, you may need to dedicate an entire class period to the you do portion. This concludes our overview of the gradual release model for instruction. Now we'll transition to keeping up the right sort of pace and momentum in our lessons by focusing on timing. Time and good teaching are perhaps the greatest influencers on student achievement. In the state of Texas, a school year consists of 75,600 minutes. At a glance, that seems like a lot. You may think there's plenty of time for students to master the TEKS. But with pullouts, school assemblies, unexpected absences, field trips, progress monitoring, library visits, computer lab time, benchmark exams, and state testing, there are many things that get in the way of actual classroom instruction. Thus, it's imperative that we make every minute matter. Imagine a class where the teacher spoke the entire 45 minutes with no student interaction. Then imagine one that follows a gradual release model of instruction. If you were a student, which one would go by faster? Most likely, the one separated by I do, we do, you do would be much more exciting and feel like time is moving faster. Shifting activity types or shifting activity formats allows you to build a productive pace in the classroom. Read what Doug Lemov says about creating fast and slow moments in your classroom on pages 201 to 203. Then scan pages 203 to 207 for more information. As you read, think about the content you'll teach and how you can gradually release students to different formats of learning during your mini lesson. A big idea is that throughout the lesson, throughout the changes and formats of learning, we're keeping track of time to make sure that you're progressing at a rate that ensures students will be able to show their learning by the end of the lesson. When you lesson plan, you'll need to forecast how long each portion of the lesson will take so that everything gets done that you intend to. Teachers make use of timers, not only to keep their students on track, but to hold themselves accountable to the lesson plan. When you make the timer visible to everyone, students can compare their efforts to the time left, self-regulate, and manage their actions so they can complete the task before it's time to move on. Note that even when you set a timer, you don't have to be officially bound to it. Maybe students finish early and you could cut it then, or if they need a bonus minute, don't be afraid to give it to them. Either way, you're making every minute matter and adjusting accordingly. See how a few teachers use timers to keep up the pace of learning by visiting my.teachlikeachampion.com and viewing clips 26 and 27. Congratulations, you've completed the learning for this module. The next few slides will review how you can be successful when you demonstrate your learning in your mini lesson. Let's look at this proficiency rubric one more time. During the extended 15 to 20 minute mini lesson, you'll transition through all parts of the gradual release model, moving from I do to we do to you do. You must also explicitly use a timer at one time period in the mini lesson. For that extra challenge, make the timer visible to all students by displaying it on the screen. Here are a few tips to help you be successful. I would wait to do the bulk of lesson prep and lesson planning until you progress through the next module, which is the critical reading, discussion, and writing module, as the gradual release will happen in the context of working directly with a text and conducting critical reading, writing, listening, and speaking. In the next module, you'll learn that you'll need to build background knowledge and set a purpose for reading or work during the I do phase of the lesson. After I do, plan questions that'll involve students in the we do that allows you to check for understanding. If you have students work together and y'all do, create an opportunity for paired or small group work. The you do can be in the form of an exit ticket or some other formative assessment. Finally, there are a lot of digital timers online from common websites. Make use of one of them to achieve that extra challenge for this module. Thank you for watching this module titled Gradual Release and Timekeeping, brought to you by Go Teach 11. This module referred to content from Doug Lemov's Teach Like a Champion 2.0, as well as work by Douglas Fisher and Nancy Frey that was published by ASCD. Images for this module were downloaded from 123RF, Pixabay, and Unsplash.